Welcome to Friday. It's the 21st day of January 2021. This podcast is being brought to you by Chugwater Chili, the gourmet spice of Western life. Check out Chugwater Chili dip and dressing mix. It's perfect for dipping your crackers, vegetables, and chips, or use it as a dry seasoning on pork, chicken, or vegetables. It's a perfect spice for your roasts or your crock pot meals. Get yours today using discount code ChugwaterDon for 20% off. Chugwater Chili, the spice of Western life. Well, it's going to be a nice looking weekend. I threw that skiing picture on there because if you're a skier, there's a little bit, not a lot, but there's a little bit of fresh snow that'll be on the ski slopes. High pressure will come in for the weekend with plenty of sunshine. And yeah, it'll be a little breezy, but there really won't be much wind. So this would be for you skiers a bluebird weekend, whether it's cross country, downhill, or maybe you want to get those snowmobiles out. Really nice weekend for that. We don't get many weekends in January where the sun's out and you don't have a lot of wind and you have fresh snow on the ground on those ski slopes. Now we have another cold front that's going to arrive Monday night and Tuesday with very similar results. We have two systems this week, one Arctic system. The one that's coming through now is a Pacific system. This next one is kind of a merger of Pacific and Arctic, and it will bring another round of light snow, very similar to what we've experienced this week. We're still looking at the end of January and early February for weather pattern changes in the western United States, and we'll show you a look at the Japanese long-range model, which is something always interesting to look at. They update that model once a week for the long-range forecast. Here's today's 500 millibar chart showing the weather patterns at 18,000 feet, where the majority of our weather patterns that affect us happen. We've got a big ridge that is up into the North Atlantic. We've got this other ridge that's bookend off the eastern areas of the Pacific, and that's allowing cold air to spill into the United States. Here's today's wave moving on through. It's going to kind of split with this part of the wave ending up down into Arizona and New Mexico, and the other part of the wave moving on through. When these systems split like this, they just tend not to be able to muster a lot of organization. But there are a lot of you that have picked up a little bit of snow overnight and early this morning, especially in the Panhandle, Nebraska, parts of central and eastern Wyoming, and up into the mountain areas. This is the snowfall forecast with this current front. This is basically over the next 24 hours. As you can see, the mountains get the most, a little bit additional snow across the lower elevations, very similar to what we had earlier in the week. This is where we talked about the system splitting, with a piece of it going down into the desert southwest, but the main jet stream gets shifted more to the east. So that'll take the colder weather to the east. A little nose of Pacific air comes in this weekend, so this will bring the moderating temperatures. And with the main jet stream winds north and east of us, that's why we're not expecting that much wind this weekend. Yeah, there'll be breezy areas, but for January, not bad at all. As we go from Sunday to Tuesday, notice we have a pushback. The jet stream comes back down and the northerly flow comes right back into the Rockies again. This is quite similar to what happened earlier in the week. So there is going to be a push of some colder Arctic air back to the west again, and that's going to produce along the spine of the Rockies, both sides of the Continental Divide, another episode of snow again. And here it is. So this is what falls from late Monday through Tuesday of next week. If it looks familiar, it should, because essentially this will be the third time we've seen this pattern just like this over the last week to 10 days. So results will be similar. I do think that Monday night, Tuesday, there'll be enough snow in the front range of Colorado, parts of Wyoming, and into the western high plains and west of the divide to cause a few travel concerns. So if traveling late Monday and the Tuesday, keep that in mind. Now I wanted to show you the long-range forecast from the Japanese Meteorological Agency. They, like many other nations, have their own computer models that try to forecast the weather. Why we pay attention to the Japanese Meteorological Agency's long-range forecast is because, well, in the Western Pacific where they're at, they have a lot of knowledge and a lot of good inputs in their computer modeling. I talk about the Pacific all the time since it's the main generator of our weather. So it's always good to take a look at what they see. Now, what I'm showing you basically is the current weather pattern. Now, I know this is very busy and it's kind of hard to see, but here's Central America and Mexico. Here's California. So it doesn't look very good. Looks like a kindergartner here, but this is what it looks like in terms of where we are in relations to the United States. The high pressure ridge right now is right along the west coast. This is why California, parts of the Pacific Northwest has gone to a much drier pattern. You notice the blue here? Just look at the colors. The blue is going to represent low pressure and cold, stormy weather. The warmer colors, warmer temperatures, drier, more stable weather. So we have this contrast here. So this is why the central and eastern United States has been cold and stormy. And this is really how it'll go for the next week. We're going to get clipped by the system Monday night and Tuesday, but there won't be a lot really going on. However, look what happens. This is by the end of next week. This is weeks 3 and 4. So what we're doing is we're going into early February. And what it's showing, here's the west coast of the United States here. What it's showing is a retrograding high pressure ridge, which means instead of the high pressure ridge being here and low pressure being along the east coast, it migrates to the west. What that does is it allows the blue colors to come into the Rockies, California, and the Pacific Northwest. Now, we've been hinting at this all week, and we see this also in the American model. This is the GFS model for February 2nd. Retrograding high pressure further out in the Pacific, high pressure building along the west coast, which concentrates the colder weather and the low pressure in the western United States. This really is not that much different than the period of weather that happened just before Christmas through that first full week of January, just after New Year's, when the West got into that cold, stormy, and wet weather. As we like to say, the weather patterns sometimes during the course of the weather can repeat themselves. You can have sometimes the same pattern or a similar pattern repeat. We might be seeing that as we get into early February in the western United States. So for you folks along the west coast, which have hit a dry patch as well as the Great Basin, early February may be a different story, and that includes the central and northern Rockies as well. I wanted to show you this really quick. There's still incredible data coming out from the volcanic eruption in Tonga, and what this graph is showing you is that the shock wave, we showed you the shock wave that went through this region last Saturday morning by changes in barometric pressure, but more sensitive sensors have now shown that the shock wave has gone around the Earth 3 times. We have these double spike areas right here. Notice the decreasing amplitude as you would expect to happen as the wave dampens, but to have the shock wave go around the Earth to be able to be measured 3 times is quite remarkable. And this is from the International Space Station showing the extent of the ash cloud from that volcano. Some data is now suggesting that part of the volcanic plume, the ashes, the gases, got higher than 90,000 feet into the stratosphere. Quite amazing. Have yourself a good weekend. We'll see you all on Monday.